Hey guys, this is Avery from averywilmer.com, and you are listening to the very first episode of Fearless Content. And today I wanted to talk to you about how to come up with content marketing ideas. I actually have a few tools I use, and if you use them too, you could easily come up with over 1,000 content marketing ideas, which I happen to think is pretty darn rad. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm a content marketer. Obviously, I started writing as a kid, and as I got older, started designing websites. And a lot of those clients would ask me to create copy for them. Write their about page, write their blogs. I found that they absolutely loved my words and I found it was a great fit. So I actually stopped offering web design services and just focused exclusively on content marketing as time went on, and it has been an absolute blast. And now I love sharing what I know about content with other people, my clients, my friends. I just can't stop talking about it. I probably annoy people at this point. So I'm a content marketer. I am also a PLR provider, which means I write private label content that is blog posts, articles, planners, and whatnot that you can actually purchase and use as if you wrote them yourself. You can edit them, you can rebrand them. And I do that with my business partners, Kelly and Sam, over at White Label Perks. And we also have a sister site called Daily Faith PLR, which is a lot of Christian resources, faith-based stuff, spiritual, that sort of thing. So if you're into that, you might want to check out those two websites. I'm also a low content creator. I publish journals and whatnot on Amazon. It's something I'm still learning and leaning into, and so far it's been a lot of fun, but I'm going to hopefully keep learning as time goes on. I can't wait to see what happens there. I'm also a novelist. I've written, let's see, 5 books, and I'm working on my sixth. I haven't published any of them, but that's next on the to-do list, right? And I'm also a cheesecake addict. Cheesecake is pretty much my favorite dessert, and if you want to get my affection, that is what you need to bring me, is just a huge platter of cheesecake. So now that you know about me, I want to just kind of dive in here. And of course, if you have questions along the way, feel free to just pop them in the box. I am monitoring that and I will answer those. Um, so if you just pop those in the box, I will get back to you. So moving on, first tool I use, Amazon Books. I love Amazon. It's awesome. And using the Amazon Books, I do this when I don't have any ideas about a topic. And I love content marketing. I love writing, but sometimes I do cover the same topic extensively. And that means that I have to stop and look for a new angle, a new approach. And that's when I go to Amazon and I look into their books section. And you can see here, I went to Amazon and I picked a niche. You can pick any niche you want and do this, but I just picked puppy training because I knew there'd be a lot of books on it. And you can even see from the drop down, there are a ton of ideas I could use for creating content based on that. For example, I could do puppy training 101. I could create, oh, that's cool, puppy training in 7 easy steps. I mean, that'd be a pretty cool blog post. I could even combine several of these and do like puppy training 101, 7 easy steps to train your pup right now. There's also puppy training for kids, puppy training books. I mean, I could do best puppy training books, best puppy training kids books. I could do that as a blog post or a live video. I mean, you can combine any number of these ideas. So don't be afraid to do that. And then when I searched puppy training, I went and found a book for it. I actually scrolled past a couple of sponsored products first, and I found this one and I liked the look of it. You can pick any book, and you just click the look inside feature. And most books on Amazon, they do allow the look inside feature. Occasionally I come across one that doesn't, but most of them do allow the look inside. And what I do when I look inside is I pay attention to that table of contents, and I use that to kind of inspire me. I particularly like this one because it has 7 kinds of behavior issues, and it talks about the different behavioral issues you can encounter when trying to train a puppy. And I could use that to spawn some uh, blog posts, blog videos, emails to my list, whatever I wanted to do, any number of things. And like, for example, the 7 common commands. I might do a whole blog post on, what to do when your dog won't heel, how to make him heal, without relying on intimidation and those sort of tactics. I mean, there are all sorts of things you could do. What to do with a pup that won't stop chewing. I mean, any number of these things. You never ever want to take somebody else's ideas directly. That's not right, but you can definitely let them inspire you. Just don't take their words, but you could definitely use anything that inspires you here. Okay, and so the next tool that I like using is YouTube. And the reason that I love my YouTube is that it gives me so many ideas when I just type a search term into the box, okay? It actually gives you suggestions of what real people are searching for. So it can be an invaluable source of content ideas. And I think sometimes people miss that for whatever reason. They just don't think about it. So what I did was I went to YouTube and I did minimalism with. All right, all sorts of ideas here pop up. Actually, the top 10 things people search when they search minimalism with. And they're like minimalism with kids, minimalism with toddlers, minimalism with a large family. And you can absolutely do these, and you could create, I mean, a whole block of content, minimalism with dogs. But you could also combine several of these. So you might do minimalism with toddlers and dogs. I mean, a busy parent would definitely appreciate that. So, I mean, that's one angle you could do, combining it. You can also use other prepositions besides with. For example, I did minimalism for because that's another angle you could do. And you can see some of the search suggestions included things like minimalism for beginners, minimalism for families, minimalism for a more full life, minimalism for college students. That's pretty cool. And really, you can just kind of play around and experiment with some of these and just let them inspire you. You can also do, again, combining them, minimalism for beginners, just, I mean, all sorts of things that you can combine. Minimalism for new moms, minimalism for college students. I mean, all sorts of things. You can just experiment with them. And another one, you can also use and to any search term. Just do your niche and the word and. So I did minimalism and minimalism and I let it come up with whatever it wanted to. But you could easily do, say, puppy training or you could do knitting and just see what comes up and what it inspires in you. So that's another tool that I use. And then my third tool that I absolutely love is Answer the Public. And this one just cracks me up. It is really, really cool for people who maybe are more visual and can really love their charts and graphs and stuff. So I'm going to show you, this is the website. That's the guy on the front. They used to have an old guy that smiled at me that I just loved. I don't know who this guy is, but I miss the smiling guy. Anyways, down here I don't know if you can tell, but where I have the arrow, you enter a keyword, and it can be any keyword that you can imagine. I ended up choosing the keyword knitting. Okay, I'm going to go back here. I ended up typing the word knitting into the box, and then I just hit get questions, okay? This is what popped up. It is basically a matrix of questions that people type into Google and other search engines, okay? They've actually divvied this up into various questions based on how they start. So we have knitting, and then over here in the one corner, it says why. So then questions people type into Google that start with why that are about knitting include, why does knitting curl up? Why is knitting so relaxing? Knitting, why is my yarn twisting? Okay, but they also have other ones like knitting and when. So one of the questions there is, when knitting a scarf, how long should it be? When knitting, how do you cast on? Okay, and they also have can knitting cause neck pain? Can knitting cause arthritis? I mean, there are all sorts of questions here that they have. I'm not going to read out every single one to you because that would just take forever. But it can really inspire you to create content of answering these questions. You can take one question and you can dive really deep into it in a single blog post if you want, depending on the topic. For example, why does knitting curl up? I don't know anything about knitting. Maybe you know like a gazillion things and you could make a really long, meaty blog post or even a short blog post. That's fine. Totally go with it. And you can also take these questions though and combine them, creating a mega post like your top 10 knitting questions answered today. And you could just pick 10 of these questions at random and answer them in a single blog post. You could also just take 10 questions, write 10 blog posts or 10 Facebook Lives or whatever. You have those, and then you create the mega post, your top 10 knitting questions answered, and you link to each individual post. So that's another great way to do it too. You can do it with your top 5 if top 10 sounds too overwhelming. You can, I mean, there's literally no end. You can just use all of these questions to inspire you to create more content. I know that one of the cool things about it is, and I'm going to blink back here for a second. This is the question matrix, which actually can be a little bit difficult to read. You have to crane your neck. You may have visual problems. I know that some people have trouble seeing tiny text. So when that happens, don't think that this isn't a tool you can't use. What I do is actually, if you scroll to the top of this matrix, you're actually going to see a button that says data. Okay, you switch from, you're already in visualization, which is the matrix that is all everywhere, and you click data instead, and data will take a second to load for you, but it is awesome. It's going to show you the questions in list format, and I'm actually going to show you what that looks like right here. And this is again for the search term knitting, and now they've put the questions into list format. So these are the questions for what? It's the exact same questions that people are typing into Google. It's now just in a list format to make it super easy for you to see. And of course, you can toggle back between the two images versus lists, depending on what you need. So for example, and there's a ton of these ideas are useful just from an affiliate point of view. Let's say you don't actually make your own knitting needles, but you could do a whole blog series on what knitting needles to buy, what knitting needles for chunky wool. I mean, and then you just affiliate link to your favorite products and promote it. And pretty soon you're making affiliate commissions and you were already just mentioning your favorite products. So I think that's pretty darn cool. Anyways, my very next favorite generator is the title generator. This is my next favorite tool, sorry, for coming up with blog post ideas. And I like this because it has over 700 ideas at one time. You can use these for blog posts, emails, just whatever you want. I absolutely love this tool. I probably use it too often, but I just adore it. And it's one click, it's free. You don't have to put in your email address or anything crazy like that. Don't have to give them your firstborn or your blood type. So what I do is I just type my main keyword into the awesome title generator, and then I hit the get headlines button. It's fairly basic like all of these tools have been. I like low-tech tools. I don't like tools that make creating content and generating ideas unnecessarily hard. I think that's kind of crazy making. Let's just pick tools that work really well and that only take a second to use. So for this one, I used the keyword hiking. I just picked a random niche. And the reason I've been using so many different niches with these is because I want to show you that it can apply across a niche, whether you're in low carb baking or hiking or knitting or minimalism, you can absolutely use these tools for your niche. So don't feel like just because I typed a certain word in there, oh, you can only use that word or it only applies to that niche. No, it applies across the board. And obviously, you're going to see that some of these ideas are going to be super useful depending on your niche, and some of them are not. And I'm going to read out a few, and we're going to talk about that for just a second. One of these is pretty cool. Number 6 here, how to handle every hiking challenge with ease using these tips. I mean, that's a pretty cool idea into creating content. Even how to buy a hiking on a tight budget. Now you could tweak these titles. So I might do how to start hiking on a tight budget if that's my niche. But there are some things that are just not going to really work. um, for your, I mean, some of these topics aren't really going to work if you're talking about hiking. Like, for example, 2 ways you can use hiking to become irresistible to customers. Now, unless you run a business blog that also has a strong hiking focus, or you're an avid hiker yourself, you're probably not going to use that idea. So don't feel like you have to use every single suggestion on these pages. They're just here to just spur ideas. They're not meant to be, you have to use it exactly like that. You can also combine several of these ideas so you get something totally unique. I particularly like The Lazy Man's Guide to Hiking and learning to do hiking like a professional. I like several of these ideas. I like The Lazy Man's Guide to Hiking, though, and how hiking made me a better salesperson. So I might combine that and do the lazy salesperson's, or rather, the lazy hiker's guide to becoming a better salesperson. I mean, any number of things you can combine and play with and just experiment, see what you like, see what you don't. And of course, you put the content out there and you just see how your audience responds. If they love it, create more things like it. If they don't, go, okay, that was a flop and move on. There's not really a point in beating yourself up. Just treat it all like an experiment and see what happens. Now, my other tool that I definitely love and use, but it can be a huge, huge time suck if you're not careful, is Facebook groups. Facebook, uh, there's not enough words, right? It's like it has over 1 billion users. It's like a sixth of the world's population has an account. I swear to God, everybody and their brother and even their dog's brother has an account. I I'm actually friends with some people's pets. It's complicated, but Facebook groups are a fantastic, fantastic resource for finding new content ideas. You'd go into a Facebook group and just post a question. Now, the trick is first you need to be in the Facebook groups. You can go to Facebook groups. It's facebook.com/groups. It's not in my screen capture, unfortunately, but that's the URL. Anyways, you can find groups that might be right for you. These are some groups that were suggested for me based on some of the other groups I'm in. And I might join some of these, I might not. It really depends. As you can see, I have a strong, strong business focus. So that's what's going to be suggested to me. If you're in a niche for something like, say, puppy training, and you're in several groups for that, you're going to see a lot of groups suggested based on that. Okay. So, I mean, just all you can do is hit see all up there in the corner and see everything that Facebook suggests for you. And you can actually come across some really cool groups that way. And of course, you can browse groups by categories down here. I don't know if you can see my little arrow, but let's say you're into gaming, you might click hobbies and interests or even entertainment. You just browse around till you find some groups. You're looking for groups that are active and that encourage discussions. You don't want groups that are already overrun with spammers, or don't want groups, at least in my personal opinion, that have a ton of rules and don't let you post anything without express permission in a DNA test, because that's just kind of crazy to me. So basically, you want to look around for some groups that are within your niche and that appeal to you, that don't have a ton of rules. If you can't find any of these, I suggest making your own group. If you can't beat them, start your own tribe, right? But so just create groups. And the thing is to make sure that when you post in these groups, looking for ideas, is that you post in groups that are relevant, okay? If you are part of a business Facebook group, you don't want to go in and post asking for puppy training tips. It's just not going to work. It's going to get you kind of looked at, and you'll probably get booted out of the group. What you want to do is you want to find groups first that are relevant to your topic, or as I said previously, create a group that's relevant to your topic. And you want to ask specific questions. I wouldn't create a puppy training group and then just ask in the group, what are your best puppy training tips? Because that's probably, I mean, that'll get me some general ideas, but it's not going to get me anything specific that I can really build a blog post around or another piece of content. So what I would actually do is I would sit down and do something like, say, a puppy training group. Then I would say, what are your best potty training tips? And then people can actually get in and give specific advice. And with permission, only with permission, I might quote them in my blog post or other content marketing. So I might say, I asked about puppy training in my Facebook group recently, and Jan told me this is what she uses. And then I might do a whole blog post around why I think Jan is right or even why I think Jan is wrong. And again, I would only use Jan's answer with her permission and all of that. I would not just randomly take her face and her photo and put them on the internet. That's just not cool. So get permission, but absolutely let these discussions inspire you to create more content. And if you ask about a sensitive topic, and puppy training is not sensitive, but if you were in a niche, like let's say you help women recover from infidelity, and you're asking questions about that, people are probably not going to want you to post their name and photo and all that on it. However, you can do generalized stats, generalized information. For example, you might do a, a blog post. You might say, I did, you might phrase it, how I would phrase it would be something like, I asked the women in my Facebook group, when they knew their husbands were cheating, and 80% of them said this was the warning sign. And then I might go into it. And that allows you to talk about it without getting too specific. Again, it's going to depend on your niche. There are going to be niches where it doesn't matter if people aren't going to care, like puppy training, unless they're doing something like totally cruel to the dog. They're not going to care about sharing their name, and they actually might like being featured and make them feel like a celebrity for a day. But honestly, just be careful, think it through, and let it inspire you. So that's pretty much what I have for you for today. My final tip is to keep a list of ideas that inspire you when you start using these tools. If you finish up this video and you go into it and you're sitting there and you're all jazzed up and you're really excited and then all of a sudden it's like a dam bursts and you have 100 million ideas buzzing in your brain. I absolutely recommend grabbing a sheet of paper or even going into your WordPress and making a list of every single idea that's inspiring you at the moment. And later on, when you feel uninspired, you can pull off this list. And keep in mind, the thing about an inspiration list is that you don't have to use every idea you put on it. I have very lengthy inspiration lists, and maybe only 10% of the ideas actually make it into a piece of content that is produced and that I proudly share with my audience. And that is just because, oh, there's an airplane overhead. Anyways, and that is just because not every idea will be inspiring later. Not every idea will work. Not every idea will be timely. Obviously, if I were writing about Google's Panda update, that's no longer timely. That was what, a year, 2 years ago? It just doesn't matter anymore. But like, there are certain topics that are evergreen that I know I could write about 100,000 times over and still not scratch the surface of it. So just keep a list, pull it out when you need inspiration, or use these tools, watch this video again. That would be awesome, actually. And finally, I've loved being here today, loved having you. I hope these tools and tips have been incredibly helpful to you. Feel free to sign up for new episodes over at averywilmer.com/show. You will get added to the mailing list and you'll get updates when I go live because we are making this a regular thing, folks. And I hope to see you soon. I have had a blast today. And if you have questions after the show, feel free to pop them in the comments because I will be responding. And thanks so much for watching. Can't wait to see you guys again later. Bye.